Here is my true scary story. Do with it what you will. I was in college, and I went out for pizza and beers with some of my friends. At one point, I realized I had lost my phone. It had to be at the pizza place, the first bar we were at, or the bar that we were currently in. All of these places were within walking distance of each other. I borrowed my friend's phone and I dialed my number. It sounded like it was answered and immediately hung up. I called it back. Someone answered and I heard them breathing heavily. I said, "This is my phone." And I asked, "Who is this?" They hung up. Now I'm mad. And I called back ready to flex my beer muscles, as my other good friend likes to say often. When they answered this time, I started screaming profanities and that they better turn my phone over and demanded to know where they were. The person on the other end let out this startling, deep growl-like noise. Honestly, it really freaked me out, and it kind of sobered me up fast. To make a long story short, I did not find my phone until I got back home. It turns out I actually forgot to bring it with me that night. It was sitting next to my bed on the nightstand right where I left it. Whomever answered my phone that night was in my apartment and my bedroom. Nothing was missing, and there was no evidence of anyone being there at all. Nevertheless, I changed the locks the next day. This is my true scary story. I was watching Netflix with my husband late one evening. I was tired and kept drifting off. My husband has this annoying habit of waking me up by making loud noises like coughing or banging his glass on the table when I start to pass out. After a couple of times, I snapped at him and went off to bed. I laid down and started to relax for a good night's sleep when I heard the bedroom door creak softly, and I just tried to ignore it. It bothered me though, because it wasn't long enough to be wide open like my husband was coming in. So I looked up and I tried to focus my eyes. The door was slightly ajar and the room and the hallway were dark, but my eyes had adjusted enough that I could just make out a pair of eyes looking through the crack of the door, peering at me. I couldn't make out anything else but the eyes. I assumed it was my husband messing with me because I had snapped at him. The only thing was, the eyes were only about 3 or 3.5 feet tall. Like he was on his knees or bending over maybe. I told him I was in no mood and to go finish the movie, and then I laid back down. I closed my eyes and I tried to ignore him, but I just couldn't let go of that feeling of being stared at. Then the door creaked again. I looked up and I saw the eyes again. This time the door was open a little bit more, and he was just staring. I told him to stop and leave me alone, and I closed my eyes again. I almost immediately heard my husband laugh out loud, and he was still downstairs watching the movie. I got chills through my entire body when I realized the eyes were not his. I sat up and looked again, afraid of what I might see. The eyes were gone. I turned on the light and I ran down to tell my husband. He swears it wasn't him, and it couldn't have been, because there was not enough time for him to make it back downstairs. Also, I would have heard him on the stairs. We searched the entire house and came up with nothing. I didn't sleep that night until almost daybreak. It still creeps me out, and even though my sister says it was probably just my imagination, I still think it was real, because I saw the eyes twice, and I felt the stare upon me, and I heard the door creak. I am convinced that someone, or something, was watching me that night. I have many true scary stories to tell, but this one is strange because it involves my favorite singer or actress. I've always loved a certain singer and actress, ever since her early days as an actress on a popular cable channel. I once read that she had some true scary stories of her own. She was once in a cemetery somewhere and took a picture with her phone. She said that 3 demonic faces showed up in the picture. She tried to send it to someone, and the error message came up that the file was too big at 666 megabytes. Then she claimed that one night she saw a black fog or something floating in her room. I don't remember her exact words, but this is the gist of what she had said. It kind of made me feel closer to her because of my own scary stories. It made me feel as if I wasn't crazy, since scary things happened to her also, and they were true. Now, I don't know why, but for a second or two, I wished to have the same experiences as her. It wasn't even 2 weeks later that I woke up one evening, and I saw a black fog floating in the corner of my bedroom. I watched it intently as it floated to the bottom of my bed. I was so scared that I pulled the covers up over my head, just like a little kid. I didn't want to scream and wake up my parents, so I just hoped it would go away. When I pulled the sheet down to peek, I expected it to be gone. It was true that it was no longer at the foot of my bed. Instead of being where it was, much to my surprise, it was right next to me, standing by the side of my bed. It now took more of a human shape. It was almost as tall as the ceiling, and huge. It was pitch black. I could see its black shape even though the room was dark. It was way more dark than the room. The worst thing was, it now had eyes. They were red and looking right down at me. I was too scared to scream. I cried, and I instinctively prayed for help. It suddenly gave a growl, as if it was in pain, and then it dissipated. Even though I was not particularly religious before this, the prayer had worked. If I ever meet my favorite singer, I will tell her about how praying in Jesus' name worked for me.